What's going on, everyone? Aaron here from Happy Hydro, and I know why you're here already. Let's get into part 2 of the Microgreens Grow series. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to part 2 of the Microgreens series. That's right, this week we are getting into the environment, the feeding schedule, and I have an unfortunate little surprise for you. If you stick around, we're going to see what went wrong with this tray. It's giving me bad vibes as soon as I get into this tent, but we're going to find out what happened to it later. But for now, look at these little guys. You can see these trays that we set up. They're starting to push up. They've broken through those little seeds and now they're, oh, hey, little guy. Well, we're going to get back to you in a little bit. But first, let's look at the ideal environment for these microgreens. The 3 main factors you're going to want to focus on for a great environment is going to be temperature, humidity, and lighting schedule. Your temperature should be between 70 and 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Your humidity should be between 60 and 70%. And for these little plants, a light cycle of 20 hours on and 4 hours off is perfect. And we're going to get into some tools of the trade to help you maintain a great environment. So first, we're going to take a look at some circulating fans. You know, nothing crazy, but just something to keep that air moving inside that tent. And I'm going to have one placed at the top right and the other at the bottom left to keep that cycle moving. Now, it's always good to have a base understanding of what kind of environment you already have to know what tools you need. So I already know that the lung room that my tent is in is very dry and very cold. So I'm going to need a humidifier to increase that relative humidity up to the right amount, like I said, between 60 and 70%. And also I'm going to utilize a small space heater. And just be careful when you're using a space heater to give it enough room and space to make sure it doesn't get anything too hot. We did touch on the lights in the part 1 of this series, but I'm just using the Sunblaster seedling lights, and these lights are going to be on for 20 hours and off for 4 hours. Oh my god, I don't want to look inside. Oh, good grief, what's going on in there? I am not ready to face reality yet, so we're going to move on to the next part of our installment, which is the feeding process. And taking these out of the tent, you can see how far that these little seedlings have pushed up our weighted top cover. And a cool little tidbit for you, the reason why we haven't had to feed them yet is because they are all supported by the part of the seed called the cotyledon. You can impress your friends with that little fact because that's where all the nutrients come from when they're first starting out. But now that they're ready to photosynthesize, we gotta get ready to feed them. Alright, looks like newts are back on the menu, boys. That's right, we're gonna get to feeding these little puppies, and for this grow, I'm going to use FloraGrow from General Hydroponics. And I typically fill up just around a half a cap fill and pour that into our pH'd. Don't forget pH water should be around 5.5 to 6.5. Just pour that right in there and stir it up well. And don't forget that we are going to bottom feed these plants because it's a lot easier for the roots to get the nutrients that way. Also, it just kind of protects your little seedlings from getting crushed by the weight of the water. I know they look strong, but we still got to be careful with them. Whoa, look at those beautiful root systems. Dang, son. Well, now that I'm done admiring these little babies, let's put them back in the tent. We got it all dialed in. We have all of our tools there, and I think we're ready to rock and roll, except for the dread, the existential fear of what is going on in that tray. Well, it's no better time than now. I have to find out. What the heck happened? Oh, my biggest fear, mold. After doing some, detective work, well, what had happened is that instead of using the mesh tray like planned, we tossed it in a accidental solid tray. So there was no exchange of, airflow, water. It just kind of sat there and cooked in itself. So, buckle up and ship on out, I guess. We just have to make sure we sanitize everything and just restart and reset. It's not a crazy thing to happen, but you definitely want it to not look like that and more or less look like this. We get some other trays of healthy seedling grow, more than enough to kind of keep this gravy train rolling. And before you know it, we're going to be harvesting in no time. So thank you for sticking around. Be on the lookout for part 3 as we look more into the world of microgreens. Looking good so far. Those little babes are sprouting up. Wait till part 3, we go over harvesting and everything else.